chairs are just sitting on right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Chair. None of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hey, everyone. Okay, so let's start with some MSTR news. So first of all, I think we need to talk about S&P 500 inclusion. There's been a lot of talk about it. We can see a lot of polls going on on X. And I think it's just interesting to see a little bit the results of these polls, because you can see, I don't know if it's just because it's the bubble that we are in on X with the treasury companies, but it seems that it's quite it's there's an equilibrium, and it tends to trend close to 50%, right, on yes and no. I think it's interesting because if I would again step out from this bubble and start to think as a regular person and look more on the TradFi side of things, then I would probably go more with a no personally, that they don't get, so that MSTR doesn't get included in the S&P 500. And maybe also an additional thing is, looking at the price action of MSTR, right, over the last few weeks. There has been no front running, right? The price has been going rather down or even flattish. And that just signals to me that the market is not pricing in an inclusion, at least as of right now. And it's unlike the Nasdaq 100 or the QQQ inclusion, where you saw front running right before there was already the price rallying. So that's what indicates to me that I think MSTR would not be included in the S&P 500. But yeah, those are my initial takes, at least.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, on paper, they qualify. They hit all of the hard metrics required to be included. But at the end, it's at the committee's discretion to who they include and who they don't. And I think it's difficult to do any prognosis on that, because we don't know how they think, or if on one hand you could say that now with the US administration very pro Bitcoin, they could also have a push towards approving it or including it more quickly. But probably not, right? Because it's the first quarter now that they qualify, and maybe they also want to see if it's fading away again, or if it's here to stay. So maybe we need a few quarters in a row of positive income. And front running, we don't see that, but it's difficult to say if it's if there's no buying at all behind the scenes, or if it's just the ATM being hit so hard that that it's fading away in the background. So, but I tend to agree that I don't think they will be included now. But we'll find out maybe as soon as tomorrow, Friday, the 5th, or a week from now.
That's correct. Yeah. I also saw a few posts on X with I think people mentioning, because of the whole political landscape and how there's so many people that are bullish on Bitcoin, on the Trump administration, that strategy will be included in the S&P 500. But nobody knows who's in this committee, right? For all you know, exactly. This could be Democrats and people that hate Bitcoin on that committee. So and even if you do a search, right? I did a few searches to try to figure out if I could find who is on that committee. It's really it's very opaque. You don't know who that is. I think again, coming from a TradFi view, when they look at this, they're gonna come up with the first excuse, which is it's not real gains, it's paper gains, and it's gonna take, as you mentioned, probably a few quarters until they realize that they should include strategy once they start hitting the earnings or proper earnings quarter after quarter, and the price actually starts rallying. Then they're going to realize that they're missing out, and they're going to have to add it. But could take a little while.
So let's get into a bit of speculation. What do you think happens to the price if they do get included or if they don't?
Yeah, Yeah, so I think if they don't get included, it's fairly easy, right? There's no price, there's not much volatility. At least I don't expect it, because that's what the market is pricing, in my opinion. However, if they do get included, I think we might see some very interesting price action. So first of all, that's going to rally through the news. And on top, I think at certain levels, if I remember well, maybe at the price of $415 per share, there might be some short squeezes that start coming on top. So we might go. I think we might go quickly to 450, right? So it's going to be a quite big upward trend for strategy, and I think not only on the singular day, but after that there's all the flows that come, the passive flows that come. So that's going to be over the next few weeks quite impressive to see, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens if if they get included, right? So I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I have the same view, maybe slightly down on a rejection, but not too much. It doesn't seem like the market is pricing in an inclusion, and if they do get included, it's definitely not a sell the news event, because those indexes actually have to buy MSTR to represent it in their index, right? So there will be buying pressure, if you like it or not, if they get included. So this should positively impact the price. Then with the positive sentiment coming in, and the MSTR being in the news, and this could be a self-reinforcing loop then.
Yeah, and then obviously if that happens, then also probably the price of Bitcoin starts grinding up as well. And there's also some shorts that are going to be caught off guard, and I think the price there is 120, where they starts to get into trouble. So 120,000, and so if both of those assets start to grind up together, we might start to see those rounds of buys from a strategy that we saw earlier this year, that were close, I think, to, or even above 10,000 Bitcoin per week, and that's actually going to just be a snowball effect. It's going to be a virtuous circle, and the infamous infinite money glitch will be back, and alchemy and wizards and all of those bears will again come, saying that this doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually up to 50,000 Bitcoin a week at the peak in November. And yeah, and now they have the preferreds, and that will be interesting to see if this adds additional fuel to it, because we've seen now that the preferreds went down in price with Bitcoin and with MSTR, right? So if this happens also the other direction, then really they can start hitting the ATM on those preferreds, and especially Stretch, that we'll talk about a bit more, but also Strike, that has a 21 billion ATM on it, and all the other preferreds as well, to add additional Bitcoin to the balance sheets. So best case scenario, this happens within the week, but yeah, I wouldn't count on it. And I think that the bearish scenario would be that they don't get included now, but they also don't get included in December, because we don't know who's at the head of this committee, and if, as you said, if they're anti-Bitcoin, then they might not get included for a long time, right? And then we'll need other catalysts to keep this going.
Yeah, maybe last point to mention. Yeah, I mentioned that there might be anti-Bitcoin, but we've seen also Coinbase get added to the S&P 500. So that's I think a positive catalyst. And
are there any other Bitcoin companies or crypto companies in the S&P 500?
Yeah, I believe there's Block Inc., who is already included in the S&P 500 as well. So also positive catalyst.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So should we move to the ATM of the week on
Yeah,
MSTR?
let's talk ATM. Absolutely, yeah.
So another huge buy from strategy here for the week. We're over 400 million now. what was it? The exact numbers, we have 470 million. Most of it is the common stock with 425 million ATM for the week. And then we have all the preferreds that combined 46 million. So the flattish around the preferreds, maybe an uptick now compared to last week. But if you look since the beginning, it's not really a big increase in the preferreds ATM. But the common stock, since they adapted their MNAV strategy again, they've been hitting the ATM hard and scooping up Bitcoin now at a depressed price of around 110.
Yeah, I'm still a bit shocked by the amount that they used on the ATM, hitting the common stock ATM quite hard last week again, considering the price action that we've had, right? More towards a flattish trend and still. So here again, maybe just to go back a little bit to our previous discussion about the S&P 500 inclusion. Some people were speculating that maybe Saylor knows something and that's why he's hitting on the ATM so hard. I wouldn't be so sure. I just think that he still thinks that it's a great time to buy Bitcoin for the price it is, and he will probably continue to do so.
And again, the more he issues on the common, the more he can leverage up then the balance sheet with additional preferreds. And that's what they'll be trying to do now with Stretch. So Stretch, that's the preferred that they want to hold stable at around $100, and that had quite a big IPO. They wanted to issue 500 million of it. They issued 2.5 billion. So it was there was a lot of demand for that one. Then it hit the market at $90, and it's been grinding up and to the right since it hit the market. It almost hit what was it, 80 and 98, and then it crashed down to 93 again with the Bitcoin crash of the last weeks, and now it's back up to 98 basically. But it's not there yet, so they haven't been able to issue any additional Stretch products. So it will be interesting to see if it hits the 100 mark, how much they're able to issue. And probably now the reason why it's also taking a while is that those 2.5 billion have to be absorbed. They were purchased at $90, so maybe there's also some sellers that are selling now at a 10% profit after a few weeks, right? So this could be happening as well for it not to hit the $100 mark. But they did react with a dividend increase. On the 31st of August, they announced an increase from 9 to 10% on Stretch. So a 1% increase in dividends, which is quite high. They, according to their new rule, they would have had to increase it by what, 25 basis points, and they chose to do 100, so 4 times more than they actually had to. So you can see that they really want to get this product stabilized around 100.
And there's actually the 2 words after the 25 basis points in their prospectus, which has 25 basis points or more, so they can basically hike this dividend as much as they want. And I think it's a good call to hike it up and try to bring this to 100 as quickly as possible. And then as we've already mentioned a couple of times, maybe we see a rate cut in September, then maybe it also makes sense to start cutting the dividend on STRC at a later stage. But yeah, it's also so although I said I was shocked about the common share ATM being hit so hard, I still think it's the right decision, because you're building your foundation on your asset side, right? As long as he keeps stacking those Bitcoin, it just allows him for so much more capacity to issue more prefers at a later stage, right? As you mentioned, they can lever up later when they have the necessity to do so and the possibility to do so. So overall, I think it's still the right decision. I know probably again a lot of FUD on on the ATM, but that's the way it's going to be. And I think the strategy team has chosen a course which is keep hitting the common share ATM as long as it's possible.
All right. Should we move to our second favorite Bitcoin treasury company with Metaplanet?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so Metaplanet came up with a bunch of news. Let's start first with the shareholder meeting that happened this Monday on the 1st of September, which was a huge success. So they had 3 items in the agenda that they wanted to have a vote on, and all of them passed. I think the principal ones were the additional or the increase of the shares. So they wanted to increase the amount of authorized shares to 2,723,000,000. So that goes into their international plans that they have. And the second one that is, in my opinion, also big is the acceptance or the approval of the preferred shares, the Class A and Class B, which we have already mentioned in the past. And yeah, there I'm curious to see a little bit more how they progress and what they come up with, because they did give us a lot of information, but for example, we didn't know yet what the dividend rates would be, and so on. So we'd be curious to see what plans they come up with there. So that's the shareholder meeting. Then on top of it, they also came up mentioning that their moving strike warrant vehicle will be paused from the 3rd of September to the 30th of September. So basically the month of September. And there, I think that's really interesting news, considering that exactly they won't be issuing those shares so through this vehicle. However, they still have this international share issuance.
Yeah, what we know is that they want to raise around $880 million with those international shares. Most of it they will plow into Bitcoin, around 850 million, and then they want to keep a certain portion for their Bitcoin treasury operations, which is the put option strategy and covered call strategy that we've mentioned in the past. So to fund that, they want to use some of those proceeds, but most of it they would plow right into Bitcoin. And to put things in perspective again on how fast Metaplanet is moving, they hold 20,000 Bitcoin now. And with this capital raise in the month of September alone, they would probably add around, what is it, another 6,000 to 8,000 Bitcoin, so almost 50% more than their current stack in a month, right? So that's a real Bitcoin yield and Bitcoin per share increase for you right there. And yeah, it's diluting the share count, of course, but it shows at which level they operate and how quickly they're moving. And again, we mentioned it before, but the preferreds that they plan to issue over 7 billion worth of preferreds over the next years. That's twice their current market cap. So big plans.
Yeah, I mean, you see Metaplanet moving at this speed. I keep mentioning that they're going into hyperdrive, and it's interesting to see all of these news, and I'm baffled by the price action, to be honest. And I would have expected the price to rally based on all of these news. I mean, it's like huge news. When you start looking at and crunching the numbers, Metaplanet could be very, very quickly at a number 2 spot on the Bitcoin treasury. So right behind strategy, well, not right behind, but behind strategy. And yeah, there's no momentum. So I don't know if it's the bears that are having their last stand, or nobody's looking at this.
Yeah. And they're the best placed. They have a great strategy so far, a great team. showing that they were able to execute. They went. What did they start the year with? 1,000 Bitcoin, maybe a bit more. And now they're at 20,000. So crazy numbers. And yeah, they're in the Japanese market with the yield starved economy. So the preferreds will work really well there. And they're uniquely positioned to really be in the number two spot behind strategy there.
Yeah, and also with their strategy in general, I think they've been so aggressive. Obviously they cannot catch up to strategy, but I think they have what it takes to, once they reach this number two spot, if they reach this number two spot, they might be able to keep it.
All right, I think we talked about everything we wanted to today. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, so exactly when I look at the price action of these Bitcoin treasuries and strategy and everything that's coming up with Bitcoin, right? There's been bullish news after bullish news, and there's still a lot of FUD around. I think that we are a long way from having a full education on these topics. I think the market is completely missing this whole trend, and it's not just a trend, actually, just the foundation and the revolution of finance that is happening before them, but they're not understanding it. We need more education in the space around these companies, because in my opinion, this is, nobody understands it outside of our small bubble on X and maybe YouTube. And yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, I think with time it will come, and we'll also see with time which ones are successful and are here to stay. And I think the big ones that do it correctly will be around for a very long time. And yeah, it's but in the short term, I think exciting times ahead as well with Q4. The summer's over, liquidity might be coming back. We have rate cuts potentially ahead of us, and historically Bitcoin does well in Q4, and maybe it will also be a trend reversal for those Bitcoin treasury companies, because we had a lot of upside in the first half of the year, right? And MNAVs that were crazy, sometimes 20x or higher on certain companies, and that was also not very sustainable. Now it's going the other direction with some of them MNAV below one, and yeah, the volatility is big on those, but there will be a reversal at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure. There must be. But yeah, looking forward to Q4 as well, to be honest. All right. Thanks a lot for listening, and see you on the next one.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?